This is number 17. It says a football is thrown into the air. The function given represents the path of the football. And so then they tell us what each of the variables represents in that function. And then what it continues to read on is it gives us information like when the football leaves the hand and the velocity. But the question we're trying to answer is approximately what is the maximum height the football reaches? Now let's look at this. You see this right here, this negative 16, that a is negative 16 whenever you think of this as ax squared plus bx plus c. So the a is a negative. Whenever you have a negative, that actually flips your parabola upside down. So it has a maximum height right here, which is at the vertex. So what we're really trying to do is we're figuring out the vertex. Now, in terms of our vertex, the t would represent the time, which they tell us here in this problem. T represents time in seconds. And then here our h, which would be our final answer, would be our height. And then that would give us the information we need to answer this because we're looking for that maximum height. So our goal right now is to figure out the vertex. If we do the vertex, and this is in standard form right here, we're going to use something called negative b over 2a. That's going to give us the x part of our vertex. Well, let's go ahead and figure out what function we're working with. We have h of t, which is like a y, equals this negative 16t squared. Now let's go find out what this initial velocity is. That's what v sub 0 stands for in this problem, the initial velocity. And so then what we're looking for is that it says the initial velocity would be 92 feet per second. So there is our initial velocity of 92. The h of 0 represents the initial height, which they tell us is going to be 8 feet above the ground. So this is going to be our function. So now we're trying to figure out what the vertex is for this function. So to find our vertex, we're going to take negative the value of this b, so negative 92, over 2 times the value of this a, so negative 16. I already have a negative over a negative, which is going to give me a positive, and it's probably pretty good for us to clean this up. So we would have 92 over 32 when we divide. And so you can grab your calculator to do that. 92 divided by 32 is going to give us 2.875, which is the amount of seconds it would take for it to be at its maximum height. So we're going to plug this in, and when we plug this in, we have negative 16 times this 2.875 squared plus 92 times 2.875 plus 8. And that is going to give me my maximum height at the time of 2.875. So I'm going to just throw all this in my calculator. I have negative 16 times 2.875 squared plus 92 times 2.875 plus 8. And when I do, all of that's going to give me 140.25, which is closest to answer choice C.